The movie begins with Tim, an English reporter who is recording a video introducing the village Bhagatpur in India. He then introduces two men named Bora Pandey and Katani Qureshi who hail from Bhagatpur. The men introduce themselves and then they shock the reporter with news about that village being known for a peculiar tradition where the girls are taken away without their consent by the man who intends to marry them. Tim is flabbergasted. He wonders how this criminal act could be considered a tradition by them. The men then take him along to witness one such marriage. Bora and Katani, along with Tim, who is recording them, then go to their boss's place. Turns out they have an entire business of helping out with such marriages. Afterwards, the group is off to kidnap a girl. As they are abducting the woman, Tim is once more shocked to see how little the onlookers care about such a thing happening. They then take the poor unwilling woman to the groom's house. Inside, the groom's family is waiting on her, despite the initial unwillingness. After seeing the gold-laden sets, the bride eventually agrees to marry the rich man. During the function, when the groom expresses his fatigue and how he just wants to go and rest, an elderly woman speaks up, telling him that unless he wants his bride to be possessed by the Mudiapari witch, he must not fall asleep tonight. Out in the distance, a strange spirit seems to be watching this function with ill intent. The next day, while the duo is taking Tim to the station, Bora gets a phone call from their boss, Gunia Bai, who gives them a task of kidnapping another girl. He tells them that the girl would be outside the railway hospital with her father. This time, however, the boys need to do this on their own. The boss sends a picture of the girl and tells them that she would be there at 12 p.m. thus they need to plan accordingly. After dropping off Tim at the station, the two are off to do this daunting task. The two arrive at the designated location and scour the area first. Before the woman arrives, they talk about their future plans. Bora says how he wants to become a famous television personality. That way he can score a lot of girls. Katani, on the other hand, has more traditional views. He wants to fall in love with a single woman and stay together for the rest of his life. Bora laughs at him, saying that he would probably attract a witch. Just then, Ruhai, the girl that they are supposed to abduct, comes out of the hospital with her father. Katani goes to distract the father while Bora brings the car around to make it easy for them to take out the task. Before long, they finally manage to get the girl inside their vehicle. Ruhai puts up a desperate fight, but they manage to subdue her with chloroform. However, unforeseen circumstances arise when they get a call from their boss who tells them that there's a sudden demise in the groom's family. This unexpected event prompts Bora and Katani to keep Ruhai hidden in an old, abandoned woodwork factory, ensuring the marriage can proceed after the funeral. They arrive at the place in the dead of the night. The already lonely atmosphere is heightened due to the stillness of the night. After parking the car, Bora leads Ruhai to a room and sets her down on a chair. Meanwhile, Katani is busy preparing food for them. During this period of seclusion, Bora notices peculiar behavior in Ruhai. He goes out to fetch food for her, but when he comes back, he finds the room trashed and the woman nowhere to be found. Scared, he looks around, calling out for her. Before he can go out, he hears strange movements behind him. Terrified, he whips around to find Ruhai in a strange state. The woman is stuck to the wall, head down, looking at him. With a shriek, he throws the plate and rushes out for his life. Bora becomes increasingly convinced that she is not just herself but is possessed by a demonic spirit. He recounts the incidents with panting breaths to Katani, who finds it hard to believe. He drags the terrified man back to check on Ruhai, but when they arrive, they find the woman back to normal. She is pitifully eating the dirty egg from the floor. Katani goes back while Bora bends down to look at the woman again. He is startled to find her looking out at him through the hole. The woman then pleads with him for more food because she has not eaten since the morning. His heart melts for the poor woman and he brings over more food. Shockingly enough, the woman gulps down their entire stock of eggs. This same man who was terrified earlier now finds this unusual diet cute. Katani is not happy though. On the other side, we see Ruhai's father filing a complaint at the police station for his abducted daughter. He provides two pictures for reference, one of which reveals a possessed Ruhai. Shockingly, it is revealed that Ruhai was supposed to be married a year earlier, but upon discovering her possessed state, the groom and his family fled, leaving the marriage incomplete. Back at the woodwork factory, Bora and Katani find themselves caught in an unexpected situation, trying to fulfill their task while dealing with the complexities of a possessed bride-to-be. In the morning, while Bora is trying to take Ruhai's picture, he once again sees the possessed spirit and takes to his heel. That afternoon, they come to visit their boss in an attempt to persuade him to let go of the possessed Ruhai. However, they fail to convince the man and come back to resume their job. They arrive back at the factory in the dead of the night. Katani goes to check on the woman only to find her gone. She has escaped after punching a hole through the roof. Thus, they decide to look for her. Katani goes to the forest while Bora looks around the factory. He arrives at an abandoned room where tons of creepy dolls and sculptures lie. While looking through them, his eyes land on a covered and rather peculiar-looking one. He grabs a wooden bat and slowly approaches the statue. Before he can attack, he hears a loud scream coming from Katani. Just then, the window overhead smashes and tons of black crows storm in. Panicked, he stumbles and falls down a few steps only to come face to face with Ruhai. However, she is back to her normal self. Turns out, she wants to use the washroom. Katani accompanies her to the woods, however, she vanishes midway. He looks around with the flashlight. All of a sudden, he finds the woman crouched in a corner, feasting on an animal. The woman whips around and Katani finally sees the possessed Ruhai. However, unlike Bora, he isn't scared. Strangely enough, he comes to like this demon at first sight. As the two are looking at each other, Bora arrives and lunges at the possessed woman from behind. He ties her to the tree with a chain, and soon the evil spirit leaves her body. The next day, we see poor Ruhai tied to a chair and Katani reading some verses to change her back to her possessed form so that he can have a conversation with the spirit. Before long, Ruhai starts crying and Katani has no choice but to set her free. She runs out to hide behind Bora, who has just arrived with a tantric in tow. He intends to enlist the help of the tantric in ridding Ruhai of the possession. But things take a different turn when the tantric's methods turn futile. Ruhai's body is once again possessed by the witch, and the tantric runs out in fear. Bora also runs after the tantric, taking an unwilling Katani with him. The tantric tells them that she is possessed by the Mudiapari, who has a deep desire of getting married. It is basically a witch possessing distinctive backward-turned feet and formidable strength. He also tells them how it is almost impossible to rid oneself of such possession. After saying that, they look back from their hiding place and find the Mudiapari coming towards them. This prompts Bora and the tantric to flee. They reach the car and realize that the keys are missing. Tantric runs off while Bora comes back to look for the keys. Once back, he finds the possessed Ruhai extending her hand, showing him the key. Katani takes this opportunity and happily approaches the possessed woman. He grabs the keys from her and strikes up a conversation. Watching Mudiapari's angry expression, he jokes that she must be a Leo. This guy has no sense of danger. The Mudiapari turns to go and a terrified Bora approaches him. He tells him to go, but he stays rooted on the spot, watching the retreating figure. He claims that he has fallen in love with her and if she too likes him then she would turn to look back. Just then, the woman's head slowly snaps and turns 360 degrees around. Seeing this, Bora's blood runs cold while Katani couldn't be happier. The man is terrified for his friend who has come to think of Emily Rose as his Juliet. Bora drags him away and they have a heart-to-heart. It turns out that Bora has developed feelings for Ruhai and wants the spirit inhabiting her to leave her body peacefully. Katani, on the other hand, finds himself more and more drawn to the demonic presence within Ruhai. They tell each other the situation and come to a conclusion that at least one of them would have to sacrifice his love for the other. Their heart-to-heart soon turns into a scuffle with neither backing down. Bora scares Katani with a claim that he has a yellow belt in karate while the other takes up stones as arms. However, neither succeeds in landing a single blow on the other. Their fight is cut short when they find an unconscious Ruhai lying nearby. As the two gather around an unconscious Ruhai, Bora gets a call. The boss tells them to dump the woman back where they snatched her from. Amidst these perplexing revelations, Gunia Bai, apprehensive about the escalating police attention. He tells them to do it quickly since the police have sniffed their trail to Bhagatpur. Bora, on the other hand, has different plans. He tells the boss that he would not do so since he is planning to marry the woman. The boss cuts the call and sends his two henchmen to resolve the situation forcefully. After coming back from the woods, Bora decides that they need to flee the place since the boss would most probably not let them stay in peace. He packs up his belongings and decides to go look for a safe place for them. Before going out, he visits Ruhai and they have a heart-to-heart conversation. Poor Ruhai opens up about her struggles back home and how no one acknowledged her presence because of the witch possessing her. Their emotional bonding is interrupted with the arrival of the Mudiapari, who once again possesses Ruhai's body. Seeing this, Bora shrieks and runs out in fear. Before rushing off, he makes sure to tell Katani that his lover is back. Ecstatic, Katani rushes towards Ruhai's room. He brings a doll for the Mudiapari as a gift and asks for her name. The witch introduces herself as Afsa. As he spends time with the Mudiapari, Bora pawns his car for a motorbike and rides around, searching for a way to cure Ruhai. On one of his visits, he catches the eye of an old woman who hears him mutter the name of Mudiapari. Back at the factory, Katani is busy playing around with Afsa. He happily makes snaps when he catches the two intruders in his phone camera and stops. They are none other than the henchmen who were sent by his boss to take back Ruhai to her father in order to escape the police suspicion. The scene cuts back to Bora, who finally arrives back at the factory. There, he finds a new car parked. Grabbing a weapon, he rushes in to find the place upside down. He finds the two henchmen that his boss sent, lying there, beaten bloody. All of a sudden, he hears whimpering noises and sees a scared Ruhai crying in a corner. Turns out, Mudiapari beat up the guys who came after her. He consoles the woman and the three of them decide to flee the place. One of the henchmen passes away while the other faces extreme injury. The bodies are taken to the hospital where this unexpected turn of events is reported to Gunia Boss. He arrives at the hospital and sees one of his men's legs. Immediately, he knows that it is the work of Mudiapari. Just then, the police also arrive and get the location of the injured man. Back on the other side, Bora, Ruhai, and Katani seek refuge in Chimatipur, a village known for its pandits who can rid a possessed body of any type of evil spirit or ghost. However, they fail to see an issued warning that states that people are forbidden to bring in Mudiapari to this village. The three arrive at a hotel and book 2 rooms. Bora brings new clothes for Ruhai, bids her goodnight and goes to the next room with Katani. As the door closes, the lights go out. The next morning, Bora goes off to welcome Tim. He tells him that he is getting married and he wants a little help. When Tim asks, he tells him about everything that happened with Ruhai. Turns out, the other day, he had been approached by the old woman who had told him how to get rid of the Mudiapari in return for a new phone and a load of 400 in it. According to the elderly woman, the Mudiapari can only be defeated if tricked into marrying a man who's already wed. This arrangement positions her as the mistress, compelling her to vacate the body she possesses. However, there is one downside to this arrangement. The Mudiapari might get angry and might or might not attack the others after knowing the truth. Moreover, this all should be taken out within a year of the woman being possessed. If it does not happen, then both the witch and the woman that it possesses would pass away. Hearing all this, Bora gets conflicted. There is no guarantee to the plan, and who would be willing to themselves along with him for Ruhai. He mistakes the old woman's words and thinks that she is willing to marry him and take a risk of herself for Ruhai's sake. Hearing him suggest that they marry, the old woman is horrified. He even goes as far as going on one knee and proposing, but she declines his deadly offer. She tells him that even her dog would not marry him. Ouch. Hearing this, instead of feeling insulted, an idea pops up in his mind. What if he really were to marry a dog in a bid to outwit the witch? He tells the old woman and she agrees. As their conversation ends, he wonders how the old woman knows so much about the Mudiapari. Upon his questioning, the elderly woman then shares her own harrowing encounter with the witch. She too was once possessed by the witch. She had managed to exorcise the spirit, but not before the enraged witch had fatally harmed her supposed husband. They finally part ways after the woman tells her to go to a certain village where he would be able to marry a dog. Back to the present, Bora and Tim sit talking about the marriage. Tim asks if he really is okay with it, and he replies, saying that he can do anything for Ruhai. Back in the distance, Katani sees this and misunderstands the situation. He thinks that Bora is planning to marry Ruhai. In a fit of rage, he rushes home and tries to force Ruhai to go with him. When the woman refuses to comply, he snaps. He bursts out shouting at her that she is going to marry Bora in secret without telling him. However, Ruhai too is shocked. How could he marry her without her knowledge? Angry, he drags Ruhai with him, but she kicks him and runs off. Scared that she might get lost, Katani runs off to find her. Meanwhile, on the other side, Bora is getting married to a dog. They set up the mandap and dress up for the ceremony. The entire ritual is carried out like real marriages. Finally, Bora and the dog are pronounced husband and wife. As the ceremony finishes, he takes the dog and comes back towards the village. However, the situation looks tense. His hopes for a swift resolution are shattered when the villagers, outraged by Bora's actions, chastise him for bringing a witch into their revered village. Before the boat can adequately reach the shore, he is grabbed by the collar and dragged over. The pandit that dragged him hits him with the plank of wood he carries. The people of Chimatipur are known for their craft of expelling ghosts and otherworldly entities. They sacrifice the hairs of these ghost-possessed people to the deity. The only thing that the village forbids is the Mudiapari. However, just this morning, the witch broke into their sacred place and attacked the people there when they tried to perform the ritual on her. Just then, amidst the chaos, Guniabai arrives, seeking retribution. The man who wanted to marry Ruhai had come to taint his reputation of successful kidnapping. He had laughed at him becoming weak and no longer working properly. Despite him telling them that the woman is possessed by the witch, they had not yielded. Thus, in anger, he had decided to bring the witch for him to marry. Now, in Chimatipur, he sees the trashed place and becomes certain that the witch is indeed there. He looks around and finds the woman on the rooftop trying to take her. She seems desperate as she no longer wishes to hurt anyone else. The witch tells her that instead of hating her, she should just accept the strength that she gives her. They have been together for the last 1 year. No one knows her better than Afsa. Moreover, time is running out. If she does not marry within a day, it will be over for both of them. Gunia boss realizes that time is of the essence. Afsa must marry within a day or else she would pass away along with Ruhai. Driven by a desire to salvage his reputation, Gunia Bai offers Afsa an unexpected opportunity, marrying the man who originally intended to marry Ruhai. In a surprising turn of events, Gunia Bai extends this proposition to Afsa as a means to resolve the looming crisis and to save her life. In the meantime, Bora and Katani sit on the other side, pondering on how to save their loved one. Katani proposes a new deal. He tells the other to just let it be as it is and they can just stay together. Or they can marry the girl together. Bora is enraged hearing this and snaps at his mental friend. She is a girl, not a dual SIM mobile that they can share depending on whatever network works well. As they argue, they hear Tim calling out to them. He approaches and shows them new footage of their boss that he recorded. In the video, they are horrified to see Ruhai willingly accompanying their boss towards the wedding that he has arranged. Bora tells Katani how desperate her Afsa is for marriage. She doesn't care who it is, as long as she gets to marry. Hearing this, poor love-smitten Katani is heartbroken. After lamenting for a while, the two decide to make their way to the wedding venue with a daring plan in motion. Back at the wedding venue, Afsa is getting ready to wed her new husband. The clueless husband is enthusiastically waiting for the woman's arrival. Before the ceremony commences, Bora and Katani crash the wedding. Katani, dressed in Bora's wedding attire, persuades Afsa to marry him. He emotionally entices the witch, who seems to have developed feelings for him as well. As the witch steps towards him, Gunia Boss tries to stop her. Angered, she easily picks him up and throws him aside, exposing her identity in the process. Scared, everyone runs away except the pandit and the trio. The ceremony once again commences, with another husband. However, this one too is abruptly disrupted by the intervention of the old lady, who exposes the man she is marrying and deceives Afsa by revealing footage of the dog wedding. She lies, saying that Katani has already married the dog before her. Confusion reigns as Afsa, in a state of bewilderment, mistakes Bora, adorned in groom's attire, for Katani. Fueled by fury, Afsa attacks Katani, throwing him far away with a single blow. Seeing the lack of time, she demands that Bora be wedded to her. The terrified man slowly steps forward, agreeing to her demand. The wedding once again commences. However, before the ceremony begins, Ruhai suddenly steps forward, taking charge of the unfolding events. In a surprising turn, Ruhai decides to confront Afsa differently. Rather than viewing her as an adversary, Ruhai embraces the strength Afsa has bestowed upon her. She tells the woman that they no longer need to depend on others for their well-being. Tying the knot of sari around her own hand, Ruhai, in a show of solidarity and acceptance, proposes to marry Afsa. She embraces the power the spirit has shared with her rather than treating her as an enemy. She tells her that they would live and die together. The ceremony ends with Ruhai vowing to stay with Afsa. This unexpected gesture shifts the dynamics of the situation, bringing an unexpected resolution to the tumultuous event. Ruhai and Afsa, having found a common ground and mutual understanding, depart together, leaving Bora and Katani behind. The two heartbroken boys watch the retreating figure of their beloved, wishing that she would spare them one last glance. Ruhai, however, happily elopes with Afsa, finally finding peace. As the police arrive at the scene, accompanied by Ruhai's father, they see the two boys and quickly surround them. The police then inquire about the situation from them, and the old woman chimes in. They question the whereabouts of Ruhai, and she informs them that Ruhai has seemingly run away with herself. There is a contented smile on her face. This bizarre statement leaves the police and Ruhai's father perplexed and at a loss for explanation. However, before any further clarity can be attained, the old woman mysteriously disappears, leaving a lingering sense of suspicion. This sudden disappearance hints at a deeper involvement on the part of the old woman, suggesting that she might have been aiding Afsa all along. It's insinuated that she had a hidden connection to the Mudiapari, as she herself had lived with this entity in the past, raising questions about her motives and her role in the unfolding events. The movie ends with a married Bora, stuck with his new dog wife named Pretty, who is currently licking his boots.